Welcome to the Tactical Dent Tech Podcast. You are now part of a small underground movement of dent technicians from all over the world. We are on a mission to change our industry with innovation, intelligence, and skill. But because we don't rely on an insurance company to steer customers our way, we need to do things different. We need to do things smarter. We do that through a network of technicians that we call the Tactical Tech Movement. Now let's get this revolution started. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Angela Hiley with the Tactical Dent Tech Podcast. I'm sitting here with John Hiley, my co-host, and we are just opening this thing up, you know. I mean, with a guy like you and a girl like me, who wouldn't want to listen to this podcast?
You haven't did that in a long time.
Oh. And we are actually recording this on Thursday.
Woohoo!
So we are going to make our Thursday deadline, but it does look like it is 3:17 p.m. currently. Eastern Standard Time.
We've been fucking busy.
Yeah, we tried to make it yesterday, but we both looked like we were dead.
Yeah.
And we were both like sitting here in the office at the end of the day, and you know, it was one of them ones where I had to like take my one hand and grab my other hand just to pick it up and put it on my keys.
Yeah.
And then we barely made it home.
Well, I hope everybody else is out there grinding too.
Yeah.
Making that cheddar.
That cheddar does make it better.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually heard a little, I don't know, there was like a meme I read or something like that.
Yeah.
And it said something like, let me see. It talks about how like people are, you know, they have a bad attitude about money and how people are just like,
I love money.
It ain't about money. It ain't about this. It's not about money, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know, the meme said something to the nature, and I think that Mr. Wonderful used to say this all the time on the Shark Tank.
Yeah.
He said, I've been poor and I'm rich. It's definitely better being rich.
Yeah.
So, you know.
After listening to Jen, I had a breakthrough, and I was like, you know what? I love money. I've always loved money, and there's nothing wrong with feeling that way. And all the money can come running to me, and I will take it.
Hey, I feel the same way, actually.
And I'll go stick it in my bank.
Yeah. Just so you can go buy your shoes and your boots and your handbags.
You know what? I am a collector. You know, you have gave me such a hard time over the years about my boot collection.
I have really been kind of tame about it,
and
actually.
I've
never questioned your purchases.
I was always kind of like, damn it, don't fucking bring this up. But you know what? I'm a collector. I fucking love shoes.
You know, you finally became.
I love shoes. And you know what? I'm not out there hurting anybody.
You know what?
I'm making mama happy.
You're accepting your hippopotamus.
When I have a stressful day, I go home and open up my closet, and it smells like leather. And I get one of my favorite pairs out, and I look at them, put them on, trot around in them. And guess what? And it makes me happy. It makes me fucking happy, and that's all that matters.
Well, you finally accepted your hippopotamus.
Yeah.
You know, there for a while, you try to paint stripes on yourself like you zebra, but everybody
Well, I
know.
guess I think what it was is I didn't want people to think that I was like this. That I was, well, like, what would be the right word? That I was like...
A shoe hoarder?
No, not that. Kind of like...
a shoe whore.
No, I'm a shoe whore. I don't care. But there's a certain word about being like materialistic, maybe, or...
Yeah, right.
I don't know if that's the right word, but I don't give two shits. It makes me happy. I'm not hurting anybody. It puts a smile on my face. I love them. I open up my collection to one of my closets, and I even had a friend, when she's seen them, she's like, do you know, like, with those boxes, where they are, do you know, like, which pair is in what box? And I said, yeah, I know, absolutely. So, I'm happy.
There you go.
It makes me happy.
I wish shoes made me that happy.
Oh, they make me so happy.
Me, I got to smoke crack and do a little heroin to get my fix.
Oh my God, no, you do.
I like to mix it up into like a little cocktail of heroin crack.
No, I absolutely love it. Dear God, I love it. And then anytime we ever walk into a boot store and it smells like leather, it's like, oh, it's amazing. It is so amazing.
Well, tickle me pink.
Yeah.
All right, so we opened up with that. All of you gentlemen out there and the very few ladies that watch, just know that if you collect boots, that you might make you feel this way. And you might even like the smell of delicious leather. All right, so that being said, we're moving on. And there's like a little Chinese story that I wanted to tell in the beginning of this podcast. Because I want people, I kind of think like in life, we tend to, like, something bad happens. I mean, and it could be something little. You can actually get into the habit of allowing, like, very, very little things, like, oh shit, you drop the bolt down inside the motor, right?
Yeah.
And that basically just down spirals your whole day, you know? And we let all this little shit happen, and big stuff. Like, there can be big things that happen. And because we don't see the big picture, we tend to start to have a negative outlook on life. And I want to say that this, I don't even think it was written by somebody, but it was about a Chinese farmer.
I think a good cry always helps.
Again, men out there. Men?
There is nothing wrong with showing
Prance around in some boots and give it a good cry.
Yeah.
That's the key to your success.
And say the word fuck as loud as you possibly can, and
unless you're a Mormon, yell fudge.
And any emotion that you can possibly think of, just let it rip.
Okay, men, here's the story. Once upon a time, there was a Chinese farmer who lost his horse and it ran away.
Aww.
And all of the neighbors came around that evening and said, "Puh, that's too bad." And the farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, the horse came back, and it brought 7 wild horses with it.
Ooh.
Them same motherfucking bitch-ass neighbors came back and said, "Wow, that's great." And the farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, his son was attempting to tame one of the horses while riding it.
Yeah.
And was thrown off and broke his leg. And all the neighbors came around again, them bitch-ass neighbors, and they said, "Well, that's too bad, isn't it?"
Damn, them some nosy neighbors.
Yeah, and the farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, a group of officers came looking for people to recruit for the Chinese motherfucking army, where you're known to get stuck in first line in battle with a damn sword. You know what happens to that, okay? And they rejected his son because he had a broken leg.
A sword?
Yeah. And then the neighbors came again that evening, and they said, "That is wonderful." And again, the farmer said, "Maybe." But the whole point of this story, the whole process of nature, is an integrated process with immense complexity. And it's really impossible to tell whether anything that happens to us in the moment is either for our good or our bad. Because you never know what will be the consequences of a misfortune or what will be the consequences of good fortune.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like that whole, there was like the plague of the lottery where, people sat in fucking line. You guys know what I think about the lottery. I think it's just a piece of shit thing to do. And, if you get offended by that, well, fuck it. I think it is. And the truth of the matter is there's like a lottery plague, okay?
They can just go fuck off.
So there's but if it gets up to a certain amount, just play because I told you to, and remember your homeboy if you win. See how I pivot that right there. So here's the thing. Literally, like, people have like committed suicide. They've made all this money, like tens of millions of dollars, whatever you bank when you win the lottery, depending, I guess, on how big the prize is. And their wives end up leaving them, and then they get some, younger piece of ass or something like that. And then they spend all this money on them, and then they run out of money, and then the younger piece of ass leaves, and then the wife's not there, and then they've got absolutely nothing, so they feel like they're worthless. They've ran their course. They pick up a gun. They shoot themselves in the head. Blase, blase. It just keeps going on and on and on.
Really?
That's the vicious cycle of the lottery, is because, here's the problem with it. The people didn't learn the proper financial habits that it takes to make that amount of money.
Yeah.
So they never created the habits in their life that would create financial independence that would, cause you to at one point accumulate millions of dollars. So they're literally going in there with the same habits
that they were using to go buy the fucking lottery ticket and spend their last $50.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter if they had millions or if it didn't matter if they had hundreds. They were going to find a way to spend every fucking dime they had because they never accumulated the habits that it took to actually get that, okay?
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the point, though, right? Is because we never really have a good idea of, like, what happened. Like, if somebody cut us off in traffic, caused us to hit a red light, did that stop us from getting plowed into down the road? You know, if we got plowed into down the road and went to the hospital, did that stop us from a fatal accident on the highway?
Yeah.
You know, there's just so many different scenarios. If that slow person in front of you, did that slow person in front of you stop you from potentially getting in an accident?
That would be me.
Right?
I'm the slow driver.
Driving a SRT8 Jeep Grand Cherokee, putting along there, 5 miles under the speed limit.
Nuh-uh.
Well, you do the exact speed limit.
Or 5 miles over.
Right. But I think really the point of all of this is what is your attitude towards anything that happens to you, right? Like there's two ways that you can look at everything because we don't know. We can't see in the future. We can't see what these little misfortunes or fortunes are going to do for us in the future. So really it currently comes down to what's your attitude now.
Yeah, usually
right?
There's always something I always read. I've heard like a saying, something like instead of saying why me, asking yourself like why is this happening? Because obviously there's a lesson to be learned. Yeah. And more than likely, once you get through that hurdle, there's going to be something fucking amazing that happens.
Well, and not to mention if you carry gratitude through it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're just being negative through the entire thing, then there's really nothing at the end of the rainbow there.
That's true.
You know, but if you can carry gratitude through it, if you can be grateful, I just think that we live in a society now where if there's no like form of happiness. Like you can't, you know, once you get this, you got to strive to go to the next level. You got to strive to get to the next level. Mm-hmm. But the truth of the matter is, if you can't create happiness now, there's no amount of money, there's no amount of anything that's going to make you happy.
Yeah.
It all boils down to the attitude that you currently have today.
Counting them blessings.
Right? And what you choose to, the way you choose to perceive things that are happening now.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, there's no faster way and there's no better way than creating an attitude of appreciation. Mm-hmm. You know, you appreciate what you have now, but you expect great things to happen.
Yes.
And if that means that something bad happens in the process of that, it's like you got to be like water. Does water stop when something gets in its way?
No.
No, it continues to flow. It deals with it. It chisels away at it.
Yeah.
It works away at it, and in a very powerful situation, it'll move it, you know, out of the way. But you've got to understand that, you know, you're always going to find a rock in the road that you've got to go around, and you've got to figure out how to get through that.
Yeah.
And now, if you get stuck there, then that's your own fucking fault.
That's right.
Right. So I think that's the big premise of, you know, exactly what we want to talk about today.
Shoot, every night before I go to bed, I thank the Lord for my blessings.
So, you know, that's like the first part of the podcast that I wanted to, you know, to talk about a little bit. Is to, number one, understand that we're always going to have little struggles. It's usually your attitude that you choose when you're working your way through them. So
Shoot, you might have some big struggles too.
Yeah. So that being said, though, I want to also talk about another thing that I've been totally obsessed with lately. And I'm currently in the process, obsessed with lately. I'm currently in the process of systemizing specifically one of our companies, which is our media company. And I'm learning, like I'm digging in and learning everything I can basically learn. I've been buying like every single course. I've been reading, you know, any book that I can get my hands on about specifically on how to completely systemize a business. And I'm like convinced because like now I'm seeing it in the paintless dent removal industry, like what, you know, the way we operate our business. I'm seeing it in, you know, of course we got denttrainer.com, and then we got our media company, which is the one that I'm really, really concerned with, you know, putting all the systems in place. And I found out that I was doing okay, but there were some things I could really improve on. And like I'm telling you, like anything, like it doesn't matter if you got an ice cream stand. If you put systems in place, it's a way to actually control and kind of gather your focus, because I want to say us as entrepreneurs, we tend to get really, really unfocused. Like one week we're on this path, and then the next week we're on the next path.
Yeah.
And that can confuse the fuck out of people that we're around, because, you know, we're always on something bigger, something better, something strikes us as new. It's like, it's the shiny object syndrome. It's like there's always something new. There's always this shiny object. And what I've been learning is so interesting when it comes to developing systems in your business. Number one, the very first thing that I learned is there's really like 4 areas of focus that you want to kind of break down. And one of them is going to be leads. Okay. You want to focus on like how are you getting leads? You know, how many people are calling your business? Like, for instance, I ran a Facebook ad, and how many hail damage calls have we got off that Facebook ad?
A lot.
A lot off of that Facebook ad, right? So that's lead management right there, okay? Or your website, or for instance, you know, your business, just having a sign out by the road, that's going to create leads, okay? Putting, you know, your logos on your vehicle, you know, there's just like, there's hundreds of ways that you can do things to actually create leads into your business, okay? So that's number one. That's like quadrant number one. The second one is conversion. Like, how are you going to convince them leads to do business with you?
Yeah.
Right? So there's a level of conversion. I talked about this a little bit on the last podcast, you know, because I was talking to a hail chaser about running Facebook ads, but I couldn't really give him my ad script because it was written for a local company.
Yeah.
And my conversion was reliant on them seeing me, seeing the ad, and then looking further into who we were.
Yeah.
And because I had my market positioning set, I've got the videos set, I was actually using a funnel. So I created a funnel just for hail damage.
Yeah.
It had really easy clickable buttons for them not only to call us, but for them to send us messages or send us a form submission, which ironically most people called.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm glad I put the call button on there, because that's what they wanted. They wanted an immediate response. So here you got 4 quadrants in your business. Number one is the leads, bringing them in.
Mm-hmm.
How are people seeing? The next one is conversion. How are you going to convert them? How are you going to convince them that you are exactly what they need?
Yeah.
What is your unique market stance that aligns with the client and customer that you're talking to, okay?
Yeah.
The next one is fulfillment. How are you going to fulfill on these promises, right?
Yeah.
So we got a paintless dent removal service, and how are we going to fulfill them services? And then how are we going to, after the fulfillment, how are we going to maintain after support? Because it is literally much cheaper to maintain and keep a client than it is to buy a new one.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, we also got our after support quality. So there's them 4 areas in our business that we've got to look at, okay? And you almost got to break down in them 4 areas which one of them are you having problems with, okay? And then once you find out which ones you're having issues with, so let's say you're getting leads, but you're having a hard time converting them.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's say you're not getting many leads. You're not getting a lot of retail leads. Well, how can you get that, okay? There's been this interesting thing that I've been doing. It's called mind mapping. And you guys could probably Google it. Just there's software out there, right? And what that is, you take a general premise. So let's just say I want to focus on lead generation.
Yeah.
I'll write that in the middle of my mind map, and then you sit there and you write anything that you can think of that would generate leads, and it puts it on this like map that you can look at later.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you create them leads, you can write little spin-offs of like how am I going to create leads on Facebook? How am I going to create leads on Instagram? How am I going to create leads by, you know, maybe I'm going to send out emails to my previous clients.
Yeah.
You know, how maybe I'm going to add a different service and send out emails to my previous clients, right?
Yeah.
Because it'll be much easier to reignite your current client base if you've taken really good care of them, which I'm assuming that you have, to buy additional services.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you literally break out a mind map, and then what successful businesses do, they take them 4 quadrants. Okay. And this is like big corporations that do this stuff. And any smaller successful business that wants to grow itself. You take them 4 quadrants and you figure out which one is your weak spot. And you focus on that for 90 days. And you create an action plan that's only 1 page long, okay? So you do a little mind mapping, you get creative, you chill out, right? And then you create an action plan that's 1 page long. And in that 90 days, and I know 90 days you're thinking, I could probably do a ton of shit. No, you only focus on 1 to 3 areas in that 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 to 3 improvements. And literally, so all the stuff that I'm studying, they're basically saying if your action plan is bigger than one sheet of paper, you won't do it. One sheet of paper, you can sit on your desk, and when you're working on your business rather than in it, when you're actually working on your business, you're going to see it all the time. You're going to understand where it's going.
Plus, you're able to like really focus on that one page.
Yeah. You guys would be surprised. Like I got an app called I think it's called like Flora, and it's like a 25-minute. This shuts down my phone for 25 minutes, and it's like one of them focus apps. It even comes on to my iWatch and lets me know how many times I've done it or whatever. And you guys would be surprised what 25 minutes of focus time early in the morning working on your business, and especially if you have a clear-cut path. So that's part of the struggle is like there's a lot of people that do not have a clear-cut path because they haven't looked at these 4 quadrants and figured out where their weak spot is and how they're going to improve that.
Mm-hmm.
So then you mind map it, you figure out how, and then you take the hows that you think are going to work and you put them to action on that 90 days. So essentially, your company should have a big why, or it should have a unique market stance that you map out at the beginning of the year, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, maybe I'm going to be the highest quality guy in my area, okay? That's my why. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for people who want the high quality. I know my clients and customers that I'm talking to. That's who I want to be. That's what I'm going towards.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if I'm having a problem getting leads and I focus on that lead, I need to make sure that my activities that I'm doing are focused with that core mission.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why a lot of companies, they talk about having like a core purpose, or a core mission statement or core values, okay?
Like Planet Fitness?
Sure. Planet Fitness or Andy Frisella with whatever his supplement company's name is. I can't remember what it is. But anyhow, they have like core values. They hire off them core values, people they hire.
Yeah.
They want to make sure they align with these core values. They implement strategy based off their core values. So what's your core values? And when you create strategies, make sure they're in line with your core values, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So then literally you implement a plan. You go after one of these segments, okay? Like there's 4 main segments in your business. Again, that's leads, conversions, and then that's going to be fulfillment. All right. So if you don't have enough people to fulfill all the leads and conversions you're getting, how are you going to hire? How are you going to create a culture in your company that's going to make that possible?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to want to attract new people? Are you going to create a training program internally inside your company? How are you going to do that? Okay. And then you got to focus that. That's your 90-day mission on exactly how you're going to do that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you do all this stuff, as you're doing it, you got to write it down because you're creating a process during the entire thing. You're creating a process that can be done over and over and over again. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That you can hand off to somebody. Because at one point, let's say you do grow your business to whatever, 10, 15 employees, right? You're going to have a secretary or maybe, somebody step in a position. And let's say your main conversion is something that you say over the phone. All right. So I told you that a client calls me, right? And she learned this. She's been listening to me talking on the phone. And now she's starting to
with all like
the hail damage claims.
Yeah, because I've always felt a little like not what would be the right word? I didn't feel like
you understood it enough to be articulate to the client.
I think what it was is I understood it, but I didn't feel confident, and I didn't know how to the proper wording and like the proper steps. So what I did was I became a sponge and I listened to John over and over again. And basically there were certain key points that I noticed that he said in every conversation. And I basically took that in, sucked it in. And then now I'm doing that.
So what also could be done there is recording it.
Yeah.
That could have been recorded. The audio, video, whatever, that could have been recorded and somebody can be trained exactly how to do what I do.
Yeah.
Sometimes the biggest mistake of an entrepreneur is to think that nobody can do it as good as you because that's a bullshit, false belief that we lie to ourselves about that.
Yeah.
All right. In fact, there's probably people that can do it better than us. And we can do what we were put here to do as an entrepreneur and focus on growing the business.
Yeah.
So anyhow, guys, that's what I'm doing right now. And it's exciting because, I found out that one of my weaknesses in the media company was the ability for me to get back to every customer or client who wanted to talk about exactly what we did. So I knew that was my 90-day focus. And literally, I'm developing systems in the front end that give people quotes, that work people through the entire process, that allow them to understand before anybody gets on the phone with them exactly what they're purchasing.
Yeah, they got all the information in front of them. They can read it. They can think about it.
Yep.
And then when they're ready, then we'll set up a meeting for
Sure.
you to chat with them.
For me, possibly, or somebody else.
Yeah.
So that's the core of what I'm doing right now. And I'm just going to tell you, like, it's got me really excited. I'm having so much fun doing this and actually taking time. It feels really good. It almost feels like you're taking care of yourself when you take a moment in time instead of working in your business and working on your business. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I believe all of us, if you're out there, you're working on your own, you're your own business owner, whatever, you've got entrepreneur spirit in you. And if you're not working on your business, you're hurting that spirit a little bit, I believe. I believe that you're holding yourself back a little bit. And that false premise that we can do it better than anybody else is probably one of the biggest, I would say, roadblocks to potential growth any entrepreneur would struggle with.
Yeah, I would agree.
So,
hey, how long have we been working out at Planet Fitness now? How long has that been?
days.
No, how long has it
She
been?
really wants to tell you about how I like to look at myself in the mirror while I'm on the treadmill.
So I did not know this.
She's actually been giving me this spy look every time she says Planet Fitness, because she really thinks that this story is super funny.
I love working out at Planet Fitness, but I don't know how long we've been working out, but it was so funny because this morning John's he's like, hey, I have to go use the restroom, but hey, make sure that you get these 2 treadmills for us to do our cardio on. And I'm like, why? And he's like, oh, because I like to look at myself in the mirror. And I'm like, what? But here's the thing. So I pick out these treadmills. John can look at himself, but do I get to look at myself? No, there's a machine right there in front of me.
Well, I mean, I got to be honest with you guys, man. I'll get on that treadmill. I'll just look across the room and be like, hey, handsome, what are you staring at today? Oh, really? You're just going to look at me like that, huh?
It was funny, though, because, they have an upstairs, and we always used to do our cardio upstairs. And then John's like, no, I like to do the cardio downstairs because it's closer to the bathroom.
Well, number one, I'm drinking a fucking gallon of water a day.
I think in all reality, there's no mirrors upstairs. So it's like you need to look at yourself.
I like to do the Superman stance in the mirror when nobody's looking.
You need to look at yourself. And
it's so funny. I have always been even when I was fat, really chubby.
You were not fat.
I would literally take my shirt off and I'd walk by the mirror and I'd say, whoa, wait a second there, handsome. Where are you going there? And I would position myself in the right angle where I looked the buffest and the biggest, and I'd convince myself that was me.
Yeah.
If I seen an unflattering angle, I'd be like, whoa, wait a second. Let me get tightened up here. Oh, there you are. There you are, buddy. Yeah, boy. Hey, I guess it's I guess I just gotta admit I'm confident. I gotta own I've got to be my own hippopotamus.
And there's nothing wrong with that, because in all honesty, I wish I had a little bit more of that, like what you have.
I'm a little overly confident because I just remember when Wade, back when I used to be so chubby, and Wade, I would see Wade at the Mobile Tech Expo. He'd be like, "Hey man," he'd be like, I seen you got a back tattoo. Can I check it out? Next thing you know, here I'm just ripping my shirt off mid Mobile Tech Expo. And I'm sitting here thinking, all these people get to see how strong I am. Just kind of like Jack Black in the movie Nacho Libre.
Oh,
which we just watched.
Again.
And he's like, oh, I need to take Carnacio out so she can see how strong I am.
I swear I seen that part and I'm like, oh my God, this is like deja vu of me and John. This would be like exactly what John would do. He'd snag me up and he'd be like, I didn't like the way that those guys were looking at you. I didn't, I need to protect you.
Let me take my shirt off.
Put on my stretchy pants.
So anyhow, y'all, I hope you guys think about that, though. I hope you guys really, really think about that. I'll give you guys a couple resources. I actually recently listened to a book called Scale, and get a chance to check it out. Like I said, I like to really dive deep into this stuff, so I'm going through several different courses and things like that, and I'd be happy to let you guys know what that is as well once I get through a few of them here. And I don't even know how to find that in my iPhone right now, but I'm going to give you guys a book to start out with. Let me see here.
Well, I hope everybody's out there like fucking killing it.
And I'm sure y'all are.
Killing it.
I'm sure you all are.
I hope y'all are killing it.
Yeah, the book's name is Scale, and it's written by Jeff Hoffman and David Finkel. And one of the dudes was Priceline.com creator, and both of them have created multiple service-based business and internet-based business, which I kind of like the mix of both because obviously I'm in both worlds. So it was great to hear that aspect because I truly believe like a lot of marketers, they kind of cater towards the internet-based stuff, and they leave the service-based people out of there. Or out of it, which is hint, hint. That's one of the markets that I'm actually going into in my marketing venture. You guys are going to see a lot of stuff coming from me over the next 6 months that's going towards a bigger crowd, like a bigger group of people. And that's part of the reason why I'm systemizing the media company because, when you decide to grow like that, you got to have something to create the revenue to grow. And I'm going into other verticals with this. So part of that is knowing that I've got the proper system in place that works flawlessly, everything from client support all the way to the entire process of getting everything set up, all the way to the search engine optimization. Like everything has been systemized and we're deploying it now. And like anything, though, it's like a machine. You got to watch it for a while,
Yeah.
and you got to make tweaks. So when you see an issue happen, I've got it set up to where, okay, well, we know exactly where it's at.
Yeah.
We know exactly what needs to be changed here. We don't get like the proper amount of information maybe at the beginning. We say, well, what do we got to change here? What do we got to tweak here? How do my designers get deployed the information they need to start on a project without me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, that's some of the things that although I'm a designer and I build and I also train our designers through video, of course. I mean, it's like one of them things where I just can't do them all,
Yeah.
So again, I had to tell myself, and that was hard because I was like telling myself that,
I think that's something that you
other
struggled.
people can do this.
Yeah, I think that was something that you've really struggled with is that you have a hard time letting somebody else help you out on stuff. You want to do it all.
And I also, another thing I struggle with is I hire, here's the thing you guys got to realize, you'll hire 5 people and maybe only 2 of them will work out.
Mm-hmm.
So I struggled with hiring 2 people that didn't work out and thinking that like everybody else was going to be just like them.
Yeah.
And that's not the truth. You really got to cycle through to find the right people.
Yeah.
So what I started doing was we had our old platform and then we moved into our new platform, which allowed me to convert some of the actually a ton of people from the old platform onto the new platform. So I had builders doing that, and I kind of ran contests. Like I would pay them to take a website from the old platform, reconvert it in the new platform, and then I was able to minimize it down to 2 or 3 of them that work really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing I did with copywriters. I mean, oh my God, there was so many bad copywriters that I took the copy and trashed it, but I paid them,
Yeah.
because I mean, it's like one of them things you finally get to the point where you're like, man, I'm not just going to argue with everybody. I'm going to pay them, move on. So I spend the $1,000 it takes to get to one good copywriter.
Yeah.
And then, you keep that copywriter and then you try to get another one because you need backup, right? You want to make sure that you have several people doing these jobs at one time. So, but it's honestly been really, really cool. It's been just such a great adventure to do this. And I feel like I'm living my dream because this is really what I've always dreamed into doing, something where I can help entrepreneurs grow their business.
Yeah.
And part of that is just me talking to you guys today. So this is my outlet to talk to and tell you guys what I got going on, what's happening here. And I want to inspire and help you guys because that just makes me, there's nothing, and in my opinion, there's nothing that makes me feel better. And even that's when I'm shoving my foot clear up motherfuckers' asses. It's never because I'm on here and I'm angry one day and I want to shove my foot up somebody's ass.
Yeah.
It's literally because I want to shock people's system. I want to shock people's mind into taking action. And sometimes that does take a foot up the ass.
Yeah.
So.
And also, Sunday is Father's Day.
Which she can't hold gifts back, so I already got my gifts yesterday.
I got you a little something. We're going to get you some other stuff, too.
I got some things in mind.
Yeah, of course. We've got to celebrate Father's Day.
I'm definitely going to be eating some steak on Father's Day. I'm going to tell you guys that.
Yeah.
Oh, hey,
absolutely.
real quick before we get off here, I want to tell you guys about an app that I've been using. And many of you guys know that I'm doing like 60 days of training, 5 days a week. And I'm doing 60 hard, yo.
60 hard,
That came from Andy Frisella, came out with like a 75 hard. And I always joke because I'm doing 60 days. I'm like 60 hard, yo. But I found this app called Lose It. And I kind of always struggle with, I want to eat healthy, but I'm like, how much do I eat? When do I eat? And then I find myself like snacking a lot, even if it's on healthy shit. If you ate way too much of it, you're going to overload.
I think what your problem is you always kind of overeat. Not intentionally. Yeah. You love food.
Yeah. And even if I'm eating healthy, I'm still like, I really love food. So as probably many of you do. Right. But I will tell you guys, since I've started this from the first podcast, I am down, I think it's like 9 pounds total.
Oh my God. So
but can I tell them real quick about the app?
Yeah.
Let me finish this real quick. I'll remember that.
But I was going to tell a funny story that led up to this, to where you're getting ready to tell about this app. So we're out to dinner with like Trey Scott, Hannah, and Trey's brother, Sterling. And so I'm telling them about, because I didn't know how long they were going to be in town. And I'm like, here, you guys could go and check this out. And we were talking about Mansfield Prison, and they're like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, John just butts in and he's like, oh my God, you guys need to check this app. Like, this app is amazing and blah, 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 blah. But the funny thing is, he's like, he was like talking about it like he's been doing this thing forever. And he's like, no, I just been doing this for like minutes now.
It's been hours. It was hours.
Hours.
So I found it that day. We went out to lunch with Trey and Hannah and then Sterling. And yeah, I found it that day. But I've been like, you got to admit, I'm totally addicted to this thing.
Yes, he is.
Because it's so cool. It like, I know this sounds old school, but I was actually thinking, I'm like, maybe if I was forced to fucking write down what I ate, then I would think twice about eating it.
Yeah.
I can't see myself over there just chewing on a protein bar, yum, 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 yum. And I didn't even think about it. I just ran into the closet, got it out, and started eating. And I'm like, well, if I was forced to write this shit down.
I mean the pantry, not the closet.
Yeah, my closet. I hide them there too. So, I'm thinking if I was forced to write this shit down, then I probably wouldn't eat as all. I would think about it. I'd be like, I would care about how many calories I was eating every day.
Yeah.
So I put this app set up and I get it set to like cause me within the next 30 days to get to my goal weight. And what it does, it gives me a little over about 2,000 calories a day that I can eat.
Yeah.
But this fucking app is awesome. It's actually called.
But don't you isn't there like different stages of like how quickly you're wanting to lose it or something of that nature?
You can pick like I got it set to where I'm going to lose like 1.5 pounds a week is what it says. I normally lose more. I mean,
John loses weight.
I lose
quickly.
weight really, really quickly. So I'm expecting 10 pounds a week.
He puts it on quick and he can take it off quick.
That's right. I'm like a different shape every time people see me. They're like, "Wow, I just seen you last week and you were fat as fuck. And now you got abs. Wow,
you were pretty poochy."
So anyhow, the coolest thing about this thing is that you can like either input it in, and it has like all the food at every restaurant. So we go to Panera a lot. And I always eat their oatmeal in the morning, and it's got that in there. It's got the sandwich that I like to eat at Panera in there.
Yeah.
It's got like everything. Like today for lunch, I had a really good exercise. I got 400 calories of exercise, which minus that off my daily total. And so I was able to eat a cheeseburger at lunch with asparagus and ketchup. I added ketchup to it, right? And
gotta have that ketchup.
So like it goes through and you document. And the coolest thing is like, let's say you got like a protein bar you're going to eat, or you're going to eat something that you put in the microwave. You can click a button and scan it into the system, and it'll scan it in there, just like a Mobile Tech RX scans a VIN. You can scan your food in.
Mm-hmm.
Or again, you go to Wendy's, you go to Wendy's Burger. You just type in what it is, and it'll like pull up automatically. And kind of what you realize is that we eat like a lot of the same shit over and over again.
Yeah.
So what it does is it saves it in your favorites. So you can go to your favorites and just kind of click the buttons. So once you get going with this thing, and it just becomes easier and easier, and it also records how much water you drink. So for instance, I've got a little less than half a gallon that I got to finish today.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've still got 1,131 calories, which is a pretty big fucking dinner for being around 4 o'clock. And because I ate that decent sized cheeseburger at lunch, I'm still like feeling good. Like I'm not hungry and I feel better.
Mm-hmm.
So the app is called Lose It, and I'm totally addicted because I've pledged to, when I started creating systems in the business and I started getting deeper into that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I've got this Apple Watch on now that records my steps, it records all this
Love
stuff.
that watch.
And I'm like, I'm going to use this fucking supercomputer that I have in my pocket and the one I got on my wrist to help keep me accountable and aligned with my goals.
You've been doing so good, Big Daddy. Just getting everything, just your mind, body, and your soul.
I'm trying, guys.
You are. You've been doing a really good job.
Yeah.
Been doing
I appreciate
amazing.
that. Appreciate it. So anyhow, check out the app. It's called Lose It. You can download it for free. Then it's like $40 a year. Apps are practically fucking nothing.
Yeah.
And for them to do all that data work, it's awesome. So
get it.
Yeah.
Own it.
All right, y'all. We're gonna bounce out of here. We're going to appreciate you coming along for this podcast. Again, I hope this podcast makes your life bigger and better. And if it does, take your old bitch ass over to iTunes and write a review.
Yeah. And again, happy Father's Day on Sunday.
All right, y'all. Hey, or we can call that steak and blowjob day, by the way.
No.
Dun, dun,
Call it
dun.
that.
We'll see you on the next one.
And remember, it's all about the motherfucking hustle.
Pew, pew.
Bang, bang.
Steak and blowjob day.
No.